Are you ready to go all in?
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this.
And welcome to the All In Practice Growth Podcast. Now, you guys haven't heard from me in quite some time, and there's a reason why. And a different episode, we'll get to that reason. But still the same All In podcast that brings you a new and a different perspective on the dental industry. But we're going all in on the All In podcast, baby. And let me tell you what, we've got us on YouTube now. And why did we get on a video podcast, not just audio? So if you're listening to this right now on audio, check out our YouTube channel. And we'll put the link in the show notes here. But why did we do that? Well, the reality is when you are as good looking as me, that's a treat for you. So go check out our YouTube channel. If you love the podcast, please subscribe. Leave your comments. Tell me how awesome I am or how much I suck. Either way is good. But I appreciate you. And we're going to hear a lot more from us, and you're going to see a lot more content coming out real soon. So I appreciate you. Now, as always, I am your host, Shane McElroy, and we're actually on location today in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a great vacation spot usually, except when I came in, there was a freaking blizzard. But I am glad I came in because we've got two really cool guests today. They may not sound like it or seem like it, but they're kind of a big deal. But I'd like to welcome to the podcast Dr. Heath Coleman and Dr. Ty Barnes, who I will not be calling doctor this whole time because they're not like that. They don't mind. So, guys, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate y'all being on.
Thanks for having us, Shane.
Thanks for having us.
Usually they're talking trash behind the scenes, so you guys can get comfortable. You can talk to me the way you always do and insult me left and right, and I'm okay with that.
Yes,
it'll
sir.
come right
Thank
back at
you for
you.
having us here.
Excellent.
We really appreciate you and all your positivity.
Hey, make sure you're talking right into the mic.
Yes,
there
sir.
you go. There you go.
I'll
Ty's
talk.
the quiet one. He's the loud one like me. So you guys remember one of the old hosts of this podcast that was with me, Blake McClellan. We had a little bit of a bromance and all that. What's funny about these guys is they remind me of that relationship, right? So let's just start here because you guys have a really interesting story, and I definitely want to get into that. But let's start with all right, how did you two meet?
That's a great story. And I get to explore my insecurities with that one. So I had applied to dental school, and I didn't get in the first year I applied. I was on the second time, and I just received my acceptance letter, and I got an acceptance email. But on the email, it actually had Ty Barnes' name on it. And I thought...
Is that true?
Yeah, this has to be a mistake. So Ty obviously got the same email.
Yeah, we got the same one, and they'd called to let us know we got in, and then also a letter in the mail and the email, and it said, "Dear Heath Coleman, Ty Barnes, congratulations, blah, 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 blah." And I thought, well, who the heck is this guy? But we went forward from there two totally different ways. I thought, well, they already said I got in, so I'm gonna show up. They sent us the information for the first day, orientation and all that. I'm going to show up, and if they sent that to me on accident, they're going to have to tell me then to go home after I went through all that effort. Meanwhile, Heath called them like 10 times to confirm that he was actually in.
Yeah, you guys want me, right? You sure? Yeah. So we did both get in, and then
And where'd you guys go to dental school?
OU.
OU.
In Oklahoma City.
Oh, who?
OU.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, on orientation day, they're seating everybody, and we're at the same orientation table because his last name starts with B, mine's C, so we're right next to each other in the alphabet. But
By the way, thanks for doing that because any of our regular listeners know I went to UGA, so I can barely spell.
Yeah, I did that for you.
We've noticed, yeah.
Everybody has their challenges they have to overcome, and you've done a lot with what you've been given.
I've done a lot with a little, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just weird because nobody else got paired up like that in the emails. There was nobody else on the email. We're not actually right next to each other. There was plenty of people in between us in the alphabetical order of acceptance.
You know what I think did it?
What?
Destiny.
Destiny.
Yeah.
That's
what
I
did
agree
it.
with you. So it just knew. It's like things happen for a reason. Just like how, I met my wife, things happen for a reason. That's what brought this bromance together, right?
Yeah. So what's even more interesting? So we were best friends through dental school, and then we had different plans coming out like that.
Well, what were your plans?
So I was from a small town in Oklahoma, Shakota, Oklahoma, and that's where the headquarters of a small DSO was. Surprisingly, it was Dentures and Dental Services that later became Dentures and Implant Solutions. which later sold to Affordable Care in 2019.
Yeah, many of you out there may refer to it as DDS, dentures and implants.
Yeah, we always refer to it as DDS. So that was my plan all through dental school. I didn't really consider anything else. I probably should have, not because I didn't have a great time at DDS. It's just I just was all in.
That's it.
I was all in, baby. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. Ty, on the other hand, had been talking with a couple of our classmates. They were thinking about starting a practice from scratch. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'd kind of talked about that. I'd also talked to some other groups. Just in general, when you're in dental school, there's people coming for recruiting trips all the time, coming to see who they can get to bring out. And so I'd gone through some interviews with a few different groups, not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do. And then Heath had mentioned that there was a new practice with DDS opening up that was a sister clinic for one of the best clinic they had. And so ended up interviewing for that, going up and meeting Dr. Kennedy, the founder of the company. He kind of ran me through what it looked like on the doctor side, and then went up and met with the doctors who'd be on site, the management and all that. Felt great about the opportunity, the group. It's a fantastic company, so decided to join up. They luckily enough to get an offer, and then moved up to Joplin, Missouri. Sight unseen, I'd never been to Joplin.
So where were you practicing there, Heath?
So by August 2013, I found myself starting a practice for them in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And then my buddy Ty is up in Joplin. And
How far away is that?
Probably 2.5 to 3 hours.
So long distance relationship.
But that didn't keep us apart. So we're getting thrown into this exodontia, prosthodontic type practice.
Yeah.
That everybody kind of labels as super simple, but I don't think dentures are easy by any means.
I've talked to a lot of people coming out of dental school, and they would not say that usually.
And then in addition to that, the surgical side. So you're having to manage complications when OU is a great school. It's not a highly surgical school. We have AGDs, we got an oral surgery program. Like everything gets tossed to them. So our experience with that was basically limited to the mission work we did. While during school, every spring break, Ty and I would go on some missions with CMDA, and we'd go to a foreign country and a third world country, and we'd do some mission work. So that was it for us. So we would talk every day about the challenges we were dealing with, and how to do consults and how to solve problems. And very quickly after that, we started to realize, like, man, we need to be into implants. I think it was within a month or two. And then, and we started how everybody starts, weekend course.
Yeah, Weekend Warrior.
Warrior.
Hey, take this 2-day course, and then not on a live patient, and then just go out there and blast implants up.
Yeah. So we did.
We took our first course was, I think, the first month we were out, and it was a lecture course here in Tulsa with the world famous and electric Dr. David Wong. He was teaching. Yep.
Everybody likes the Wong.
Got exposed to that early on and learned a ton, got excited, and then we did some more after that. Did the live surgery only, what was that, like 2-3 months out?
It was like, we scheduled a mentor to come in, and
nice.
we all brought patients in. It's just, I say we
Great
all.
way to do it, by the way.
Yeah.
Ty and I brought patients in to a central location on a Saturday, and this guy came up from Dallas, and he sat with us on our first overdenture case.
Sure.
And there it was, right? So now we're ready, and we're masters, and we're gonna crush it. And we jump into it, and anybody's implant journey, especially if they're coming out of school, looks something like this. Place a moderate amount of implants, and 4 to 6 months later, you see what you did wrong, and you get overwhelmed by the issues that come up. And then you learn from it, and you make some more mistakes, and you learn from it, and you make some more mistakes. It's better if you have a mentor to kind of avoid some of those.
Sure.
Which we can talk about later on in our clinical director roles. What we did to fight that problem. But
let's take this back. What time was this? What year?
We're talking 13 and 14 right now.
Okay, 2013, 2014. Got it.
So in 14, things started to change a little bit. So Dr. Kennedy wasn't an implant guy. The owners of DDS knew that that's where they wanted to go. We were doing around 3% of our total volume was dental implants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and the rest of it was
See,
extractions.
it's funny because as I've known the
dentures.
DDS, I'm always thinking implants first.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what you guys became known for.
Well, this is what made the bread and butter, man. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what made DDS and put us on the map. It's what allowed us to grow so fast. It was around in 14. They're like, hey, we think we should be pushing implants. So they brought me out of the clinic full time, and I was associate clinical director to Dr. Kennedy, the main clinical director, and I was to help him, right?
Sure.
Place recruit doctors that want to place implants and train to place implants. So our recruiting really changed. We started to look more, instead of Craigslist and newspaper ads, we started getting on Dental Town. We started to get on Indeed. We started to have presences at residency programs and dental schools. And the presentations I would give had nothing to do with dentures. It would just be, actually, this is perfect for you. Just a bunch of bloody pictures.
Nice.
I mean, this is perfect. And Instagram was around then. But I don't think
For recruiting, that's fantastic. But patients don't like that.
Oh no, patients don't want to see it. But this was before you could get on Instagram and just see a bunch of bloody surgical pictures, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm showing nothing but like bloody pictures, sinus lifts, implant cases, implant revision cases, maybe a few all on 4 cases, and because we weren't really doing a lot of those either.
Sure.
Even in a company of, gosh, we were probably, at this time, by 2014, 15, we probably had like 35 to 40 practices. Maybe, probably actually not that many. But we might be doing a total of like 2 or 3 fixed cases a year between all of them.
Sure.
All of them together. So we start getting doctors that are like, hey, I want to do stuff like that. And I don't want to go to oral surgery and spend 4 to 6 years. I just want to come out and start knocking this out. And it was a great opportunity. Our average pay back in 2014 was probably like $310, $320. So we would spend a lot of time at private universities that people had, Midwestern and Pacific, and where we had like these Creighton, large student debt loads, and they would come out and be ready to rock, man. They really wanted the mentorship. They wanted to be taught. So
mentorship in like anything you do, I think is really valuable. Because I've been involved with a lot of courses over the years. I think that's where people stop excelling or stop growing, is if they don't have that accountability or somebody they can lean on, right? So suggestion to anybody listening, I don't care if you're in sales, I don't care if you're a doctor, whatever you're doing, try to find a mentor, because that will keep you going where you want to go.
It's huge. It's huge. And I mean, I give all what little success I've had, I give 100% credit to my mentors.
Yeah. I taught him everything he knows. No, we were blessed in a lot of ways with one of the positions we went in. We got put with experienced clinicians. So Dr. Joe Robinson, he taught me a million things. Yeah, exactly. He's one of the absolute best dentists in the country. I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind. And he taught me so much, and so really helped me speed up a lot quicker than I would have otherwise. I mean, for sure, I still wouldn't. It would have taken me 20 years there.
Quick question for you. Do you think I always get this conversation of experience, right? Experience isn't really the amount of time. Do you think it's the amount of time or the amount of reps?
I think it's quality.
I think it's reps and time and everything. It's and sometimes it's what you do. Sometimes it's what you watch others do. I can monkey see, monkey do pretty well, watch people do something and then go do it. But what Heath and I he mentioned it earlier, when we would get done with work every day, we would talk most every day talking about what we did and what worked and what didn't. And that's how you get efficient, because a lot of people, when they're talking about speed and surgery or anything else, they think you're rushing or this or that.
No.
To actually be able to be fast and be quick and get things done in a short amount of time, it's all about efficiency. So if you're doing something where you're wasting time and not accomplishing anything, you need to cut that. And so we would talk about stuff like that, like, hey, I stopped doing this because I didn't think I was doing anything. And sure enough, nothing went any different. So I just saved 10 minutes on this or whatever.
So you guys, did you have ownership in DDS? How did that work?
No. So I guess around, it was probably 2014, 2015, they wanted me to be a full-time clinical director. And
what does that entail?
Again, it's a lot of managing the doctor corps and recruiting and training and edifying your team.
It's a full-on operational
it's firing, it's hiring, firing, it's everything. I mean,
So
basically,
beyond that, outside of that, so that's in the clinical director part over just what we dealt with doctors. And Heath up first, I was still in the clinic, so this is just to answer that question. But so not only in recruiting the doctors, hiring the doctors, training the doctors, but also going on site with the teams to see if a clinic is struggling, try to help find out what it is that they're struggling with. Is it the consultations? Is it the way that the records are being taken? Is it what happened in the lab or whatever?
Notes.
Worked a lot with management, the doctors, everybody. And so it's a fairly inclusive position at the time.
How old were you guys at the time when you became a clinical director? Because you're not that old right now, so you had to be a pretty young clinical director.
I think as an assistant clinical director, I was probably 29. And
We hyphenate it. It's called an ASS director.
Yeah.
That's what I usually say.
assistant to the regional
Assistant to,
clinical
yeah.
director.
Assistant too.
But by the time I was a full-fledged clinical director with Dr. Kennedy as opposed to Dr. Kennedy, I was probably 30. And I was young. And I mean, I had some talent. I'll say that. Like I was really into implants, but hey, let's be honest, I was also cheap. So to answer your question, when they hired me or promoted me or however you want to say it, when they did that, they gave me stock in the company, which was ultimately like a life-changing moment for me.
Sure.
And that was a big deal. And now I'm part of the team, and I felt justified in all my efforts. And we kind of put it into overdrive. And around that time, we hit like this. You've heard of the flywheel.
Yeah.
Where things start getting easy. We had built out an entire expansion team. We had an entire clinical team. We had a legal team. We had an operations team. We had an IT team. Everybody knew their role, and they all did it really well.
So systematic and kind of just like surgery Ty was talking about, efficient.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we started growing faster. And when you grow faster, you have more fires.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point, I looked at my calendar, and I was booked out like 4 weeks. And fires keep popping up.
Sure.
But you can't get to them for a month. That's going to be a problem. And I made a lot of sacrifices, but I didn't want to sacrifice family.
Yeah.
So I kind of had my rule that I was going to travel, 3 to 4 days a week, and then be back at least one day during the week, and then to have like a long weekend with my wife and at the time my young son, and then eventually my daughter, and then eventually my other daughter. But so I go into the corporate office, and I get with some of the guys, and I say, guys, I'm booked out this far. I'm okay with that, but I think we should get some help in training and recruiting, and we're growing faster. This is going to be an easy win for us if we invest into this position. It'll pay off immediately.
Sure.
And they go, well, and they were very
when you hear
well, so you want to hire somebody just like you that it's a doctor position.
Yeah.
It's a DDS position, so it's not super cheap. Who do you have in mind, buddy? And
Who was that
And I go, I'm gonna say it, and you guys are gonna think I'm being biased, but I have about 5 good reasons why Ty Barnes is the right guy.
Nice.
Number 1, he's cheap. And he was.
There's nothing wrong with
and he
that.
was.
Yeah.
2, he's the only one that can travel like I travel.
Yep.
You get.
And again, how old were you guys at the time?
30, 31, something like that.
A little easier to do it, although you're starting a young family. That's tough.
And there's trauma there with my young kid because he was like 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah, for
but
sure.
it's not nearly as bad if they're 6 or 10 or 15. They notice when you're gone.
Oh, for sure.
When they're that old. So that was a good time for me to be traveling like that. Ty at the time was still single, no kids that we know of, and
Nice.
burn. But that was one of my big points. He can travel. He is younger and he is more affordable. He knows the business. He knows implantology. Their biggest thing was
He's got fantastic hair.
because we had like 4 or 5 people we were considering, and most of them kind of took themselves out of the running for those reasons.
Yeah.
Right? For one or more of those reasons. Their biggest thing was, does he know operations? So I got an MBA when I was going to dental school, and I had a
Side note here, guys. When I first met Heath, he actually didn't you want the Instagram handle?
Yeah, you stole it.
At Implant MBA, which is my personal one. And I told him, he's like, so where'd you get your MBA? And I go, oh, no. I'm a fraud. I legally can't place implants legally. And I don't have an MBA. I learned for the School of Hard Knocks.
It's still a badass name, though.
I know. Well, it's funny. Who's it? David Tia out of Australia, right?
Yeah.
Great dude. He thought it was Implant Mamba, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that too.
Yeah.
That's a pretty sick one.
Okay.
Right?
That'd be
Somebody
really
better
good.
nail that before
Yeah.
this gets on air if you want that one.
Yeah, we'll make
that
a
The
actually-
Kobe of dental.
That's pretty badass.
Kobe.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
I'm just thinking of who's going to get that name now. You know,
Oh, somebody's going to get it.
somebody needs to. So where were we? So the biggest thing was operations. So I had some business acumen. I spent a lot of time, like Ty said, spending time with the business side of the clinics with the managers, going through P&Ls, talking about different expenses, talking about leadership and the teams on site, marketing, and how to get more patients in the door.
And that's a huge, in my opinion, just a huge advantage because you spend so much time in dental school, right? Like, Ty, when you were in dental school, how many business courses did you take?
We had one course. It was kind of a 2-semester thing.
Ty actually beat me in the simulation both times.
Ty's a quiet genius.
The absolute most dominant force in the practice, in the simulated
to me,
practice realm.
that MBA that you have, so you're trained on business and then you learn dentistry, like how big of an advantage was that for you?
You know, I think it gives you some foundation, but even in MBA school, they'll tell you that the experience is where it's at. In fact, they ask you to have.
See, I don't need an MBA.
They ask you to have 3 years of business experience before you even get your MBA. So,
Sure.
So that you kind of have a better understanding of what they're trying to teach you. I find the accounting classes are exceptional. Finance, awesome. Marketing,
What a
I think
nerd.
I think marketing
I know,
changes too fast to really.
Sorry, I fell asleep for a second.
Yeah, I think marketing changes too fast for them to really be too relative. You know, education's a little bit behind things.
I was actually a
most of the
marketing
time.
major. And then reality was, I was like, I thought I knew what marketing was until I did sales for like 5 years. Then I was like, oh. Then I started really understanding. So I do agree with you. Marketing, it does change fast. And it's kind of this ambiguous thing because it covers so many things too.
Yeah.
Well, let's fast forward a little bit though, because so you've got the business training. You guys are both clinical directors now, right?
Yep.
And again, how old are you at this time?
31.
31,
Probably.
32. Okay. So, and how many practices were you guys at?
Well, depending on the year, but we were hitting a stride. So from about 2000 and when did you come on board, Ty? 2016 or 2015?
16.
16.
I think.
So from 16 to 19, we really took ownership of the recruiting and training. We were very decentralized in our training at
Sure.
first. So it was a lot of rifle shots, as you'd call it, flying out to Slidell or flying, you know, and then back, and then flying to Schertz, Texas, and back, and then Kansas City and back. So then we started to centralize it, and we worked with Joe Marinfar, as you
What's
know,
up, Joe? Bedazzle your shoes, baby.
love that guy. Started working with Clark Damon down in Dallas on some cadaver courses, and we worked with these guys. We and they were great because they would just say, "What do you guys want to teach?" And when we want to start them here, and we want to move them along the path to get them all the way to where they can do a full arch. And full arch was not our goal, but if you've seen the mountaintop, you know the hill doesn't scare you. You know,
No, of course.
the locator case, it looks like cake. So they were fantastic about that, and that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier. Ty and I designed a lot of these programs for what we wished we would have had coming out of
course.
school. So if there would have been like this pathway, you know, like Moody has. You know,
Shout out
this-
Justin Moody.
yeah, this pathway,
I love Justin.
which I know he was doing his thing at the same time, but a lot of us didn't even know about that kind of
Sure,
thing back
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So so we were kind of designing our own in-house pathway to move our doctors along, and then that became a recruiting tool because it's like,
course.
okay, so now
Yeah.
you've given me the patience to do the work, and now you've given me the education to provide the work, and then we've got these clinical directors that float around and are basically like a safety net.
Yep.
And we did a lot of cleanup work, pulling implants out of sinuses and fixing defects and all
So you're
kinds of
essentially
stuff.
like almost like a mentor for these practices too, and the clinicians within them that are learning. So you have the education tracks and a bit of the mentorship with it.
100%.
Yeah,
The
one quick thing I'll say with when the training went centralized as opposed to always being spread out, that also started to have a huge effect on company culture because then you're getting big groups together. And when I say a big group, it's 6, 8, maybe 10 doctors and us,
Sure.
and so not enormous. But when you get all together, you start to see each other beyond more than just a one-on-one, just a coworker.
Sure, yeah.
They had
Start
group
to get it.
me.
It becomes a culture.
They
Yeah,
had group
you start to
me
build it.
message, message
Yep.
groups, and different doctors started to really share their experiences, just like Ty and I did.
Wait, can I ask you one question? Are
When
the
we got
text
started.
threads in that group similar to the text thread that we had going on the other day?
No,
Yeah, they were more PG.
A little more
Yeah,
PG?
They were
Okay,
more
okay.
PG. So yeah, it was good. And I think one of the biggest challenges we had were we didn't just have docs right out of school or right out of residency. We had 40-year-old doctors. We had 50-year-old doctors. We had males. We had females.
Because especially you, Heath, you have a baby face, right?
Yeah.
I used to, and then I had my kids, and that took care of that. But how was that interact? Because I remember way back in the day, my first management role, I was managing 50-year-olds, and like there's some challenges there, and it's mainly in your head.
It's
but-
very difficult. No, I don't think it is. We had some run-ins with some doctors. I think we approached it humbly a lot of the time because we know. I mean, he's mentioned a couple doctors already that were a lot better than we were, and I've admitted
everybody
that.
we've mentioned so far.
Yeah. so we would tell them that.
Sure.
And we would approach them with humility and then say, hey, but I am seeing this. Or, hey, the management team mentioned that we're having a problem with this. And it's not always clinically related.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's how we're addressing a dental assistant.
Listen, some of the best surgeons, clinicians, whatever, are not great to their team sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's a major problem too.
Yeah, they might be disrespectful, or maybe they don't have a great patient rapport or something like that. So you move it. It's a game of inches.
Yep.
You're not trying to move a mountain. You're just trying to take one bite at a time.
Yep.
And some people were much more
Hey,
accepting
good
of
on
this.
you, Ty, for not, when he said game of inches, you didn't even laugh or
Yeah,
smile.
I
Good on
expected
you,
somebody
bud.
to say something.
No, laser focused.
I expected somebody to say something, but nobody did. So yeah, we were just trying to get a little bit of movement from these doctors, and some doctors didn't make it. Some
Sure.
did. Some did, and that was great. So anyway, fast forward, it's 2018,
Yep.
and we start getting a lot of attention from our competitor, and they start floating some numbers around, and a lot of our partners were pretty thrilled with that. And at the time, I wasn't, and now I don't have a resentful bone in my body, but we were winning, so I was like, why don't we keep going?
Yeah, when you're winning, it's hard to be resentful.
But I remember one of my partners said, well, yeah, you're winning until you're not.
It's true.
And then they don't want to buy you. So you gotta sell at the top. And I was like, well, I don't think we've hit the top yet.
Yeah.
And we had a vote at one point, and it wasn't yes or no. It was, do we do it now or do we wait 5 years and then reconvene? So we had this kind of pseudo vote where we were split pretty closely, but the vote was, let's consider the sell.
Yeah.
And again, I went home.
Ty, did you want to sell?
Oh, I didn't have a vote. Yeah, no, I was not consulted upon.
Nice.
Ty was kind of on deck for
Yep.
partnership, and he had been working really hard. He had done a really good job, but he probably needed another year or two for us to really consider that. Some of us pulling harder for him than others. Obviously, I was one of the ones that was like, we
Got to pull hard for your buddy.
we got to take care of this guy. And our team was great because they were really selfless, and they always took care of all employees. But I knew that equity was really where he needed to be.
Sure.
And that was one of my frustrations when we agreed to sell. Was, man, he just missed it by probably a year.
Yeah.
So I go home mad, and I'm fired up, and we go through the whole due diligence process, and we sell, and it's finalized March 1st of 2019, and we're all part of Affordable, or ACI, and we spent a year with them, and that was kind of a tough year. It was just a lot of new environments.
Well, can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah.
You kind of skimmed over a big part there.
Yeah, I'm burning.
Probably for a reason, but I don't care. So you sold. This will be really interesting to a lot of people. So you guys sold DDS was acquired by Affordable Dentures.
Yeah.
So number one, like, is that like Jeff Bezos before he got divorced and ripped, or like after he got divorced and ripped, buddy?
You know, it's public record, so
they should look it up.
You can look it up, but we sold
It's a lot.
we sold for $350. Yeah,
$350 seems like a sweet deal.
about $350.
Oh, tree fitty, tree fitty. You can put an
$350.
M behind that, guys. That's a lot.
So it was, and that you know,
And how many practices was it?
it was 54.
So how did they come up with that number at the time?
Well, we didn't. I mean, it was 4 months of due diligence to come up with that number, and even now, I think you can still
What are
disagree
the
with it.
primary like KPIs they're looking at?
So we looked a lot at obviously EBITDA, and then we had multiples. We had add backs.
Yep.
And then we had kind of neutral.
Well, hold on. I just acted like I knew what that is. What is an add back?
Okay, so like a one-time cost. Like if you were going to
Got
use
it.
a consultant for 1 year, you're not going to have to be penalized for the next 20 years, right? So
Sure.
that's a one-time cost. An add back would be maybe a negative EBITDA in a brand new office.
Okay, makes sense.
And we even dove in deeper than that, where we knew how long it took to turn around offices, and it was 9 months. As soon as we put in an office, we knew we would be profitable in 9 months. So anything within the first year didn't penalize EBITDA.
Sure.
Anything within like 2 or 3 years, we actually were able to project that out, and we got to add that to our EBITDA.
Oh, cool.
So
And
that was
that come on big. You know, obviously there's multiple partners that own. That come in one lump sum? Is it one big check, or is it over time, or what does that look like?
Man, I could tell you some really good stories about that. It was
Please
two.
do.
It was two lump sums. But I remember when the first one hit, I think Ty and myself and maybe was it one other partner was in Raleigh?
No, it
But
was
Ty, were
it
you
was
a partner at that time?
no.
No,
So
he was a clinical director. He was not.
how
an
did you
equity
feel about
owner.
your buddy who's like? Were you just like, you're buying drinks now all the time, or like what's going on?
Yeah,
No, I was putting it on his tab long before that, so like that didn't really change anything that we ever did. But it was a mixed bag, and it was a lot of excitement and pump for that portion of it.
Sure.
But then still, just the professional side of things, and DDS took great care of me. So like all that went great. I couldn't be happier with how anything ever went.
Same.
I mean, it could not have been a better opportunity, and just the growth, meeting people, meeting Blake, which then brought us to you.
Blake McClellan, right?
yeah.
Yeah, because you start with
he's
the
all right.
low end, the Blakes, to step up to meet people like
Shanes.
yourself, to get to the
he's gonna
Shanes of the
love
world.
that
You're
one.
gonna get to the Shanes of the
Yeah,
world.
that's why you should be here,
I miss you,
Blake.
buddy. Wish you'd be on the podcast again. Whatever.
So I was really
We'll get him.
pumped, but I was, even though I didn't have a vote or anything, but I was very much against selling, just because I love competition. I love going out there and competing, and we were winning pretty handily.
Nice.
And so selling to me, so I'm out of it financially, so it didn't matter. But just as just pure competition side, hey, we're going to sell, and then we're just going to join the other team, and then like it's just awkward. Now I'm like Kevin Durant,
Well, I remember when this acquisition. You're like, wait.
except for
Sorry,
he
Kevin.
went.
Yeah, I want to see what
Yeah,
does
he
that
thought
mean?
he was upgrading. Oh, just can't beat him, join him. But it's actually the opposite with that. But
Yeah.
I just don't like Kevin Durant.
Well, I remember when that acquisition went down, because I was a rep at Biohorizons at the time, right? And that was kind of the primary implant of affordable dentures. And so when you're on, that's we're wearing the colors of orange, like we don't like purple, right? And you guys were using like Neodyne all the time. And I remember that happened. And it didn't affect me quite as much as like out, Midwest and West, obviously more there's offices there. But I just remember being like, crap. Because I had a few, like Dr. Adedoyan was my client. She was helping her with her first full arch case and all that, and it had a bunch of other
great.
offices. So that was an interesting thing from the outside, seeing that be like, not worried about all the things we're talking about now. It's like, man, are they gonna, take all that business? And then it became like, no, they have the option, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that they ever quit really using you
No,
guys. I don't know.
No, they didn't. And they're both great companies. So I'm not, never dogging anybody. In fact, those are two great ones. So
Yeah, they really are.
and especially great. And let's just be honest, Neodyne, it's designed for full arch, man. It's a sick.
It's great.
For that.
Yeah, it's great. We still use it to this day. I mean, we bleed purple. or at least as much as we can. So I remember the night that we signed the papers, and there was a power outage at our hotel, and Ty and I left to go grab some food, and then by the time we got back, we just kept checking the bank account, and then it hit, and we had a gin and tonic, and we kind of cheers, and then that was it.
Yeah,
it was,
like
which is
picture-
exactly what we would have done anyway.
Yeah, picture it in your mind, like how like it's going to be so exciting. Everyone's going to run around the room, and it was as anticlimactic as it could possibly be.
Probably the coolest thing though is I was in Gene Kurtzer's office, CEO of Affordable, and we're signing the paperwork, and I signed the last piece of paper, and he said, and I'll remember this forever. He goes, "Congratulations, you can buy an island."
Yeah. So, and how old were you at this time?
33, 34, something like that.
So if you want to feel bad about yourself and your success in the business, don't hang out with Heath Coleman, right? Like, so, but no, I think it's pretty
it would be
impressive
a
that
very
you guys have done this much that early. Because how old are you right now?
39.
Ty, how old are you?
38.
Children. I'm about to be 43 very
Ugh.
soon. I know it's gross.
Ugh.
It's anyways.
No, I didn't even know that. That's kind of
It's kind of creepy. I don't like it. I don't like getting old. But so you signed your paperwork. You just now can buy an island,
It would be a small island without any buildings.
like a Mr. Beast kind of island.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So now, what do? Do you go buy a Porsche? Do you go buy a Lambo? What do you do? Because you're young, right? You're young and you just got a lot of money. So what are you going to go do?
This is what's crazy is out of all of my partners, I think I'd have to count them up, but I think we had 8 partners. I don't think anyone did anything.
So you get all this money and it's like this amazing thing happens and you're like, yeah, let's keep going.
You know, eventually some people bought some second homes, you know, a boat, a car.
Sure.
But
you got to buy at least one toy. I mean, come on.
it was heavily delayed.
you know, it was very delayed.
Probably a smart move.
I think people were just kind of in awe that it happened.
Sure.
You know, there were some private flights taken. Not the first year. I don't think so. I don't think there was any private flights taken the first year by anybody. But it was cool. It was really cool.
Were you married at the time?
I was. I had.
What'd your wife say?
I had 2 kids. Nothing. And you know, it doesn't affect her either.
Good. That's
you know,
awesome.
we were comfortable.
And I got to meet your wife and I got to meet your kids, and I can tell you right now, it's very obvious that you do well when you get to your house. It's amazing. It's all this and everything, but like your family is so grounded, and like I think that's really impressive to me. Right.
Well, thanks.
I thought you were going to go a different direction about how he really bat out of his league.
Well,
with this.
that
Yeah.
I just assumed people. Knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, I think I have I think you have a buddy who probably helped keep you grounded a little bit there too, huh?
You know, I try to surround myself with people that keep me grounded
And by grounded means talking shit to him and bringing him down whenever he gets a big head, right?
telling me I'm fat and ugly and and more.
That happens to me all the time. So, are we hanging out with the same people?
Yep, we are. We are. Blake and Ty. That's
Blake
it.
and Ty. All right. So you're loaded now. That's cool. What does that look like when you get inside another organization? Because that, I mean, and I understand there'll be specifics here you cannot talk about, and I totally get that. But like, I've been in situations where companies are merging together, and rarely does that go like ultra smooth.
It didn't. It didn't go that well. I mean, I'm not a big fan of private equity now, and I know it's changed my life and it's changed my kids' lives. And I mean,
Sure.
there's no secret.
But you say that everybody hears private equity, but why?
You know, I think they look at companies in terms of spreadsheets, and that might not be wrong. But at DDS, it was much more family-based, and we knew everybody by name, and we celebrated each other's success. So when we had a doctor that made a ton of money, or we had a manager that made, you know, $500,000, we cheered.
Yep.
And I think big companies tend to not feel that way, and that's not anything about ACI specifically. That's just private equity in general.
Yeah,
you know?
they put in much money, they want a bunch back.
And they need it back.
Yep.
It's not
So they can do the next investment, right?
Exactly. And if I invested money like that, I would want to do the same thing, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
if I give somebody, you know, $1 million, by God, I'd like that $1 million back, and then 30%
I'm
return.
not paying you back. So
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
And I think one other key difference that sometimes gets overlooked a little bit, because even though DDS and Affordable were very much direct competitors, their innate structure was very different. And neither one's necessarily right or wrong, and it's not even that deal. With DDS, it was all basically a group practice with several locations, 54 locations. So the DDS clients were patients. So all we did was worry about what we can do for patients. Within Affordable, they're a DSO where their clients were doctors. And so decisions they make are based on their doctor clients, not patient's care. So like patient care was number one for us just because that was our client. Affordables, they're and to this day, their clients are the doctors that own their affiliated practices.
Sure.
And
That's
so,
such a good
so the decisions are different, and it's not a right or wrong or good people, bad people, any of that stuff. It's just their focus is different.
100%.
And so that was hard for us to always jive with because we looked through a different lens. And so some things didn't make sense to us that, of course, makes a ton of sense to them.
So, all right, we're going to fast forward here because I can talk about this all day. But I think your wife and your kids are expecting you in a minute. So we're gonna fast forward track just a little bit, right? So, okay, you guys have merged with Affordable now and DDS together now. How long? You're obviously not there anymore. So how much longer were you there, and what was the decision to leave, and how did you guys kind of do your own thing?
I think there were some major cultural, beliefs that were obvious on both sides of the coin.
Sure.
And we all got along, and we were cordial, and it was fine. But they could tell that we were a little disgruntled, not even because of the cell, but because of just the general.
Well, you're being forced to do things maybe a different way, and that's part of the sacrifice when you get the check, right?
And Ty and I have talked about it. We were plenty toxic. We could have had a better.
Some of us more than others.
We could have had a better attitude. We could have worked harder to adopt that culture. So
he's just like my wife. When he means me, he says we.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I like that.
During most of this talk, it's been me, I, me.
Ow.
And then now
that's
it's
not
toxic.
true.
And then now it's a we.
So basically, Ty had a terrible attitude and got us both canned.
Well, now we're talking.
He got us both fired.
Well, and this is something that a lot of people are this will resonate with. So a year later, so March of 2020 was a year after, and something happened in that time period. The world stopped. And so there were a lot of hard decisions made across the board for everyone across the planet. So this is not anything special to us whatsoever.
So what happened?
So we get a call, and we're all at home, we were part of the skeleton team at Affordable that worked, and they said, hey, we're going to do some restructuring, and we'd love to keep you guys on.
Yep.
And that's 100% true. And they just said, we'd like you to move into these roles, and they're a little different. And those were not what we signed up for and what we really wanted to do. And it's also still, at this time, I think it was actually May. And my kids are getting homeschooled because all the schools are shut down.
Sure.
And I didn't want to put on 5 different layers of PPE. And so we said, hey, I think we're just going to call it quits and do our own thing. And we had a non-compete that we abided by for 5 years, and we could only operate, as single locations. So we did our thing separately, and I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yep.
You asked the question earlier, like, how does a liquidation event change your life like that? Well, it allows me to do something like this that is truly a passion project. I still want to make money off of it, but
this.
Secure dentures and implants. Okay. We get to work with who we want to work with, and we get to design the culture how we want to design the culture, and that's been fantastic.
So you guys started separate practices, right? And now, as of what date? For the record,
let's say for the record, it was January 1 of 2025.
January 1, 2025. So now you guys have how many locations now?
We're at 2 that are open, and we open up 3 more in the next 4 weeks.
So what are y'all's plans for like expansion? Is that super fast? Is that slow?
Or organic? Just
however it happens.
Yeah, we are not responsible, or we don't have to answer to a board
So hitting certain levels at certain times.
or a private equity company.
It's
We
also,
can do,
it's just doing things that make sense. And early on, people ask that question a lot, like, where are you going? What's this and that? There's really no locations at all in mind. It's just people. So people that have been reaching out for years saying, oh, whenever the time comes.
So what you're saying right now is you're not saying like, okay, we need one in Atlanta and we need one in Dallas. And you're actually saying you're finding talent or like-minded clinicians and saying, let's either merge or build around you.
exactly.
Yeah. We all spend a lot more time at work than you do at home with your family, right? So like that's something everybody knows. And so having been through a lot of different things, even you keep talking about us being young, but we're pretty old at this point. We're old heads in the realm.
Until you hit 40, you don't even get close to calling that.
With all that time that we're going to spend at work, and we both love working and spend a lot of time and effort and energy doing it.
I also think you guys like seeing each other.
We want to be surrounded by people that we want to work with. So,
and I will say, I've been to both your practices. Like the you were talking about that culture earlier. It's quite evident to me, right? Like it does feel like everybody's all in. Everybody's backing each other up. Like you don't see that everywhere, and so it makes a lot more sense where you guys came from now and like why you have that still going on today.
Well, if they don't want to be here, we don't want them here.
Yeah, for sure.
And we definitely don't pay enough to keep them here if they don't like it. So, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, we love our teams and we love spoiling our teams and taking care of them. And then in turn, we expect them to spoil and take care of our patients. And that's the goal,
Yep.
So how long have your separate practices, obviously, because you guys just have come together like this, how long were those going on?
So they opened in 2021. So I opened Secure in Owasso in March of 21, and then Heath, like a month later, opened up Restore Dentures and Implants in Tulsa, so the west side of Tulsa Hills. And so we operating separately up until the recent merger and co-branding, all that.
So, but you guys did obviously a DDS big volume of implants, and I consider hundreds and hundreds of implants. But once you get to like over 1,000 at a single location, that's pretty significant, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
a lot of people say they do that, but it's kind of like the rule in college: you divide by 3, whatever that the dude said. Yeah. Right. So where, if you guys don't mind me asking, where were both those practices at? Were they, around 1,000, or was it a couple hundred? Or
Ty probably knows better.
Like let's say
we merged
it's 2024. Yeah. Because that's not starting it up. That's like 3 years.
Actually, that reminds me too of a good story. So Heath did mention it when he first came on as a clinical director within DDS, and it was 3% implants. In a 3-year run, mostly once I came on board, it went from 3,500 were placed company wide, the whole company at that time, to 3 years later it was over 35,000.
Oh my God!
In a 3-year span, and that was from a lot of.
Neo didn't take care of you. Oh, good Lord.
They, we love them. And then, so now in 2024, both practices, I think probably the average was 1,100 between the two.
I mean, that's significant, guys.
Well, I think it was like 1,200 and just under 1,100.
We have high hopes. We think 2025 can be a lot.
Well,
more.
And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. So you guys obviously both do full arch, and we'll talk a little bit more how I met your patients, but like I got to see it. And I've been in a lot of cases. I've seen a lot of work. You guys are really good. And I hate saying that to your faces, but you guys, like the work, and the patients freaking love you, by the way. But natural, and I think you started restoratively, obviously, but I know you guys have the surgical skill, but to give them exactly what's going to fit them perfectly, make them look their best. I've been pretty impressed. I'm not going to lie.
Thank you.
No, I don't like complimenting you guys like that.
I can tell it's painful.
But it's really impressive. And really getting to talk to some of the patients that they genuinely called you family. Like when you were here, that's they made me part of their family. It's a really cool thing. And you guys do a lot of, you guys are going to call it what? Secure Smile? Is that what you're going to call it? Some people are all on 4, Teeth in a Day, Teeth Express, right? There's a bunch of different acronyms, but you guys are going to call it Secure Smile. Mm-hmm. But you guys also have a dental lab here, right? Mm-hmm. So what does that do for you?
Yeah, so at Secure, and this is, there's other groups that are similar. So yes, we focus on full arch. We do all on 4 type procedures all the time. It's better known as the Secure Smile. That's what most people across the country know it as.
Most people will.
Yeah, they will know it. And so, yes, we focus on that. We do quite a bit of that, but we also have on-site denture labs. So we do same-day dentures. We do immediate dentures, no implants. We do implant over dentures, the full gamut. And we want to be a force within just the tooth replacement realm.
Yeah, you guys got all the toys. You got 3D printers, you got mills, you've got facial scanners, you got intraoral scanners, you got photogrammetry.
And that's something that we love. So especially on the full arch, we do a lot digital because that's where the technology is there and it's ready to do digital dentistry within full arch implantology. We're waiting for the day when we can really do the same type of thing with dentures and overdentures. Sure. I know it's possible. There's plenty of people out there that do it, and a lot of them do it really well. But right now, it's not any more advantageous than doing it manually and doing it analog. And so, and we know a lot of great technicians that we get to work with, and so it works out awesome. But one of these days, it's going to be great when the technology's more ready to rock with some digital dentures, actually.
Gotcha. Well, let me ask you one other question. There's some other organizations that are going kind of straight to final. Is that ever something that's like a consideration for you?
Yeah, that's something we've been working towards for a while.
So what will that look like from let's say a patient perspective?
You know, it could look like a lot of things. I think our more ideal situation for between Ty and I is probably like a 72-hour final.
So if you're talking to a patient and they go, okay, I can get my same teeth that day or I get 72 hours, they're going to get confused, right? Like, is it the final? Is it, because they don't really fully understand until they get to talk to you. So how would you describe that to like a patient?
Well, I would describe it as you're going to have a temporary smile that's placed that day, printed. We do this now with a lot of our singles and some of our dual arches.
But then there's usually that period where you're waiting,
you're going to let
6 months.
Yeah, you're going to let them heal. We wait for 4 months here. But we've done a lot of cases from out of town where, they're not going to be around for a while and they may not be able to be around for a while. So, what we'll do is just kind of front load it and we'll do a full digital workflow, verify aesthetics, maybe even a second try-in or verification the next morning. And then once that we are pleased with the result, we go straight to mill. 24 hours later, we've got a final and we deliver it and then they can go home. And of course, there's follow-up. We don't want to just kick these patients to the curb and say, well, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. But we're prepared for that. If the intaglio doesn't fit as well as we'd like it to, we'll remake it.
So the bottom line is a patient can come in, get their implants the same day, get a temporary, even because a lot of places that do that go straight to final, they'll just say, hey, just come see us in 2-3 days, temporary. So you'll do a temporary as well.
I like the temporary to verify the aesthetics and verify phonetics and everything we can verify. We're trying to, you want them to be as happy as possible.
And we've done multiple cases where we've done the final in 24 to 48 hours. And getting it done is not that difficult, but getting it done like we want and meeting the expectations of the patient aesthetically is what we're being a little bit more deliberate about to make sure that when they get it, they've got, because you can rush through anything and give them teeth. Like we can do 6-hour finals if you want. But
just by knowing you guys a little while, I got a feeling you're talking about patient expectations. I got a feeling it's meeting your expectations of yourself that's actually harder to hit than the patients, if I'm guessing.
My expectation is I want them to be thrilled.
Of course.
And we're cheaper than most options, alternatives out there, a lot of our competitors. But even at the prices that we offer, it's still a lot of money. And I expect them to have them for the next 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
So do you want to live with it and deal with it for 30 or 40 years? Or I want you to be so excited you're a walking, living, talking billboard for our operation.
Well, it's a huge procedure. So a lot of people, it's a second chance. They've kind of given up on a lot of things. They get it done. It's a rebirth, and they really can come alive with it. And they are spending a lot of money on it. And so we want it to be where they feel good about it. And if it's hard to deliver something like that on someone that if it could be better. And so we love to have it to where it's dialed in and everything is absolutely as perfect as it can be for them. Is what we're trying to do.
Talking to the mic.
I am now talking to the mic. Sorry about that.
You're good, brother. You're good.
An hour later, you think I'd be used to that?
So we've talked about a lot of the story, and we only got a couple minutes left here before Davey gets mad and says we got to leave. But you guys have done each office doing over 1,000 implants after just building from scratch, right? How did you the last 3 years individually, like how are you guys marketing? Like what focus has it been?
Shotgun everything. Everything we can do, we will do. It's the same thing everybody else is doing in this kind of industry. You got pay-per-click, you've got social media, you've got billboard, TV, radio. I sponsored some receipts at a local grocery store for like a year.
How'd that work out?
I think the ROI was it wasn't measurable. It was good. No, yeah, it was zero. So we're doing a little bit of everything.
So we just did a bunch of filming and stuff, page testimonials, and you guys want to attack social media hard. You want all this cool content, but why?
I think that's the one way to get out of the rat race that is Google AdWords. You're probably never going to get out of that rat race, but
not completely. But
at least we can develop some sources of revenue that are outside of PPC and TV. I mean, and TV's not applicable in every market. In Tulsa it is. We've got 2 offices and it's not that expensive.
Well, the
Try Dallas.
Digital TV though is different now, right? They
Oh,
can get
that's-
hyper specific.
You've got a lot of different things,
where
but
everybody shied away from TV because they were like, it's too expensive. Well, it's all supply and demand, right? So it's all shifted.
well, and back to kind of what we mentioned earlier, you mentioned going to school, getting a marketing degree, and not even learning what it was until later on. It's always evolving and always changing. So if we just stick with the same recipe that we've done for a long time, then we're the next dinosaur that's out there. And so that's why we're really excited to be working with you guys and trying to get some better content, because everything's drifting to social. Everybody knows that. It's not, you gotta be pretty blind to not realize where things are moving. And that's where we're the weakest. We haven't really put forth much effort, energy, or resources to that. So that's where we're wanting to make a big push.
Well, I think part of the dynamics change from marketing perspective. Like I've got a lot of friends who own marketing agencies or people I've learned from over the years, and it's been tough, especially in the last 2 years, right? Like that's what some of these CEOs tell me. It's like it's not so much the website anymore. Like you gotta have a solid website. There's no question about that. Yeah. But it's PPC is still relevant, but it's getting more expensive, and they're not even marketing that. So you're seeing these bigger marketing companies, like some of the ones you might know, that are trying to buy content creation like agencies. And so they're starting like, we've got to have the content because your PPC, your website, all this is only as good as the content have, the foundation, right?
Exactly.
And so for anybody out there doing marketing, whatever you're doing, understand the foundation of any of it is making sure it's good content. Look at your behavior. Scroll. What do you like? What do you stop on? What do you doubt?
Good content.
What you stop in is good content, right? So I think the dynamic has changed, and there's going to be this next 2 or 3 years, especially in dentistry, content creation and then hitting social media and not just one Instagram and not just Facebook and not just TikTok.
All of them.
Literally all of them. Because you have to be, I steal this from Peter Bolden, omni-channel marketing. You got to be where they are, when they are, the way they want to see it. Right.
Yep.
So, and that's a challenge, man. That's hard, but it was fun meeting your patients. You guys got some good content because they were amazing.
Yeah. We've been very fortunate with that. We've got some wonderful patients that we see, and they are like family.
Sure.
And when they come in, we know them by name. They're excited to be here. We're excited to see them. So it's been a blessing.
All right. So if there are some patients listening to this, where would you tell them if they want to contact you? What would they do?
I think it always starts with the website. So, you can get our phone numbers off the website. You can schedule a consultation.
And what's the website? SecureDenturesandImplants.com?
Yep.
I got you, bro.
Thanks, man.
Okay. And then now let's say there's a doctor who's like, hey, I want to be like you guys. I want to do this, and I'm talented. And who would they get in contact with and how?
I would reach out to Ty or myself any way you can, whether that's Instagram, our Instagram handles, Magic Fingers, Dr. Magic Fingers.
Dr. Magic Fingers.
I kind of love that name, by the way.
And then Implant Addict.
Implant Addict, because you couldn't be Implant MBA.
Well, I had to come up with something. And
I'm probably going to get reached out. They're going to go through me, and I'm going to be like, oh, God.
I didn't think about Implant Mamba, but
well, that's
maybe you change the name.
We're about to have another account.
There you go. Get it before somebody else does.
Or our website. Any way that they can reach out to us, we'll be responsive and would love to talk to them.
That's awesome, guys. Well, hey, appreciate the time. Usually these are 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but I was really interested, and we're over an hour already. So, which is freaking awesome. It don't matter. We do whatever we want here. We're all in, baby.
Yep.
So, hey guys, thank you for watching. Thanks, Dr. Barnes. Thanks, Dr. Coleman. They gave you guys the Instagram handles to reach out. If you're a patient, go ahead and go to secureddenturesandimplants.com. And I just want to thank you guys for listening to the All In Practice Growth Podcast. And we'll catch you next time. Awesome. It was good, guys.
Thanks for listening to the All In Podcast. See you next time.